you're a geologist. Kazakhstan will outproduce Canada, the biggest uranium producer in the world, by the year 2012. And Afghanistan is loaded with uranium as well. And what we know from the Rothschild octopus, that excellent article, is that the Rothschilds, the City of London bankers, the Wall Street bankers, have taken over and completely corporatized and privatized all of Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Romania, Montenegro, but their eye is really on Siberia, the vast oil and natural gas sources there. So this is an energy game on the Eurasian chessboard. And it's not over yet. And I think one of the most important world leaders right now who has his head on straight is Vladimir Putin.
Yes, I read this as well from Coleman's book, that Putin is very, very shrewd and has thwarted their attempts to essentially privatize and destroy Russia, which is, of course, what the Committee of 300 had planned with their Wharton Institute economists and all this stuff.
Well, it took he's a very devout Christian. He's a very solid husband. He's former KGB. How do you ever get out of it? He's still KGB, thank God. And he's a very, very good strategist and strategic player. And what he did was he took back all of the gas and oil, the national resources, national natural resources back that Yeltsin sold off at private auctions and made himself a very rich man. And so Putin has taken that back, and of course it's the City of London Russian oligarchs and bankers and con men who stole all of that from Russia. So Putin now does not go anywhere without having a 5-mile radius completely cleared out and filled with military and secret service. And that's why he's still alive.
Interesting.
But they're crucifying him in the papers. And I wanted to give the titles of some of these papers that people can read, but I think you had a comment?
No, please go ahead. Yeah.
This is an excellent, excellent article. It's called Global Land Grab, Coming Soon to Your Neighborhood. And it's on the Rents website, Jeff Rents, RENSE website. So if people just do a search on Global Land Grab, Coming Soon to Your Neighborhood, it was written February 27, 2005, by Judith Moriarty. And it's quite extensive. There's a lot of information about Maurice Strong and how he set up this global agenda and how it became the Agenda 21. Very, very informative. And then another really good one is Maurice Strong, The New Guy in Your Future. And it's by Henry Lamb, Lamb. And he wrote that in January 1997. And it's on the website www.sovereignty.net. And so that, again, is Maurice Strong, The New Guy in Your Future. And then I did mention the Rothschild octopus, which is a description of how the Rothschilds and these international bankers have gone into the aftermath of the NATO attack on Yugoslavia and how they're just gobbling up all the resources and privatizing everything. And then there's another article, George Soros, an evil Rothschild agent. And this is 2008. It's a new article by somebody named Brother Nathaniel Kapner, Kapner. This is great because he exposes how George Soros is another social con man. And, of course, He funded MoveOn.org and a lot of NGOs, and he's doing exactly the same thing that Maurice Strong is, and he's been very active in Yugoslavia and Kosovo, Serbia, gobbling up those resources. Then there's another very, very good article called Carlyle Empire, and this, of course, is about the Carlyle Group, which is actually controlled by Jacob Rothschild, no surprise. And it was written in 2004, and this is on the website www.culturechange.org. It's by Eric Lesser, Lesser, so it's called Carlyle Empire, but it's translated from the French. It was in Le Monde, the newspaper in Paris, and it says, quote, "The biggest private investor in the world, deeply entrenched in the weapons sector, is a discrete group that cultivates dealings with influential men, including Bush father and son." And of course, they're just bagmen and low-life actors for the City of London. There's also...
Go ahead, please.
Oh, just one more article I wanted to mention. It's in Pravda, the Russian news website, and it's about the famine during the Depression in the United States, 1932 to 1933. And you're not going to believe this, but 8 million people died of hunger in the United States during the Depression. And this was written by a Russian who was investigating the famine in Russia the very same year, carried out exactly the same way. And he says, analyzing the period of the Great Depression in the USA, the author notes a remarkable similarity with events taking place in the USSR during the 1930s. He even introduced a new term for the USA, de-farming, an analog to dispossession of wealthy farmers in the Soviet Union. He said, few people know about 5 million American farmers, about 1 million families, whom banks ousted from their lands because of debts. The U.S. government did not provide them with land, work, social aid, pension, nothing, the article says. Every sixth American farmer was affected by famine. People were forced to leave their homes and go to nowhere without any money and any property. They found themselves in the middle of nowhere, enveloped in massive unemployment, famine, and gangsterism. And he said, people starved in the streets against the background of stores selling a variety of foodstuffs. And what the U.S. government did was to order excess food that could not be paid for by these poor starving people, dumped into the ocean, dumped overboard into lakes, and burned, anyway, disposed of. And so people were deliberately denied food. And the same thing is happening now. The state of California just passed a law about 3 months ago. It is now illegal to feed the homeless in the state of California. And the soup kitchens, the food that has been fed every day to the poor by St. Anthony's and other long-established soup kitchens, they can legally only serve 2 meals a year now. And so here we have the Depression in Russia and in the United States happening all over again, and it's to steal their homes, their farmland, their property, and to make them homeless and then just exterminate them. It's happening all over again. So please, people, read this article. Famine killed 7 million people in USA, and it's in Pravda.
Wow. You know, what really strikes me when I look at your article about the Rothschild octopus is, well, of course, these people are very elegant and good-looking and dress very well, and they really do seem to be wonderful. Just to look at them, you know.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful.
It's very ironic.
It's
that
very
our ruling elite is so elegant, and we're all kind of trained to look up to these kinds of people, and then the reality is totally different from the.
Well, you know, evil people always need a disguise to give them access to the vulnerable people they want to prey on. And what I just saw on this Canadian trip is a 20-mile electronic net on 10 miles on each side of the Canadian-American border, where you can feel the microwave or radar or whatever they're using. It's very, very oppressive. You cannot miss it. We have underground bases in Canada on Canadian soil up to 15 miles from the border. The Canadian government has allowed this. Why are American underground bases on Canadian soil? Every animal in Canada now, whether it is a pet or it is food animals like livestock or chickens or rabbits or whatever, every pet, every food animal has to have a microwave, an RFID chip in it, implanted in it now. Can you believe that? Every pet horse, everything has to have an RFID chip in it. And I went to Nelson, which was the center of consciousness in Canada. People came from all over the world to go there. It's in this lovely lake and river area and mountains just on the west side of the Canadian Rockies. And the CIA went in there. There were a lot of independent marijuana growers. The CIA went in, took the Hells Angels in, took over all of the marijuana growing, and turned the marijuana growers, these Canadian hippies, into wage slaves. And now there is crystal meth, heroin, cocaine, pot, everywhere, all over Canada. They're pumping it into the countryside and into the big cities. And the Canadians told me 1 out of 8 or 10 Canadians are drug addicts now. So it's a deliberate, absolutely deliberate plan to destroy civil society. And it's happening here in the U.S. For the first time about 5 years ago, I started hearing that drugs are coming into Japan. And when I was in Kuala Lumpur in February of 2007 at Dr. Mahathir's War Crimes Conference and Tribunal, I said, Dr. Mahathir, he was the Prime Minister of Malaysia for 23 years and modernized the economy. And I said, my goodness, you have a death sentence for anyone caught with drugs in Malaysia. He said, oh, that didn't happen under me. He said, we had to do it. It was after the Vietnam War and during the Vietnam War. He said, our country would have been completely destroyed if we had not done that.
So it's the Opium Wars all over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly, Melody. The book, again, on the Committee of 300 by Dr. John Coleman talks about how the Committee of 300, the structure and the way they operate really comes out of the British East India Company and the East India Company before that, and that this was the way that the ruling elite, ruling families, the black nobility of Europe, made fortunes on drugs, the drug trade, the opium wars in China.
That's right.
And now they're doing it here.
And now they're doing it here, and all of those companies, the East India Company, the Dutch East India Company, the Hudson Bay Company, and even the Spanish conquistadors, they were all coming out of the city of London.